I shifted over to the other side because my good leg is not cramping yet. Well, I put weight in the good leg, quad goes in that leg, then the hamstring goes that way. So I'm sitting there just stuck in the booth just like this. And my mom's like, thought I got shot or something. She's like, what the hell is going on? Just freaking out. And all I could say was pickle juice, pickle juice, pickle juice. And the bartender brought me literally three shot glasses full of pickle juice. Oh. All right. Welcome. This is episode number 4 of Shop Talk. We are back with the main crew again today. We got the boss man. We got Ty.
What's going on, guys?
I think it was all three of us the first episode, right?
That was the last time we did it. It was the first episode.
You did one with me.
Yeah. All together,
I was out of town. I was out in Nashville.
Last podcast, it was Alex, and then you were there for a little bit. Okay.
So, yeah, first one since the first episode. We're all back together.
Yeah. I had to leave early in the last one because I had hockey and, didn't
Did you wreck yourself?
Nope.
Okay.
Not
you
completely.
Said last time you
The following weekend, I wrecked myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're recovered now?
Yeah, surprisingly, it's getting faster and faster. But fuck, my hips are getting freaking. I'm getting old. I ain't 21 anymore. I'll tell you that much, dude. 3 games in one day sucked.
Get this man a glute band. Be walking around with it on.
Yeah, no kidding.
So let's kind of fill everyone in. So I mean, Ty, you were in California.
Yeah, California.
How have you been?
Good. Just pretty much just working a little bit out in California.
Why were you in Cali?
To do some ownership training.
Look at that.
OnlyFans event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
So we did some ownership training for the new store coming up.
You almost said OnlyFans.
Almost, because I'm stuck in my head now. But no, we did get some training. I did. First week I just saw some friends from when I was in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. They're all still out there, so I visited them for the first week, and then the next 2 weeks we went to the Glendora store in California. Mm-hmm. Learned a few things there, and then we went to the Roseville store as well, and spent a week at both. Learned a lot, so hopefully we can make that work over here too.
Like a lot, or just a lot?
No, a lot.
Oh, okay.
What was one takeaway from the trip as far as business-wise goes?
Business-wise, it's just kind of like what we're trying to do here is just get closer to the community is the biggest way. The biggest takeaway I think I learned out there was get as close as possible to the community, being involved as much as possible, kind of like what we're trying to do here. And honestly, that's like number one thing that these stores strive on is that relationship with the community. And I definitely can see why they're doing good because they are really close to the community. They know their customers by name, and if they don't, they try remembering these conversations with them per time, and it's actually really nice how close they're trying to get to them. If not, super friendly. They treat everybody the same. There's no, they're not over salesy. They're not super. They're just normal people talking to normal people, and it works for them, and it works for us too. And I'm glad you got to see that at another point of view than just out here. So that's one thing I liked about that. You just see different points of views and how they do it out there. Yeah. And hopefully we can take some of the things I learned out there and implement here in the new store.
Well, you and I were even talking last night saying like we brought up the second location already last podcast, so we can talk about it now. But like in the 2.5 weeks or so before we open, but you'll be up there. We're already talking about going to try and do some promo events and just network with the community because especially being up in Brainerd, it's smaller than Maple Grove, but it's a very tight-knit community. So if you can get in with that community, get to know the people, I think that would be huge just for business-wise, relationship-wise. It would be a lot. Yeah,
because me and Chaz are planning on going up there sometime this week to kind of network a little bit more because he's got history up there with sports. I know you get history up there with growing up. Yeah. Like I said, I kind of do. Not familiar with the area, just from fishing and stuff like that. I know the area. So it's kind of nice kind of going back that way. And hopefully we can get close to the community because, like I said, we all fit in there somewhere or another. So,
hell yeah, good stuff. Boss man, how you been?
Oh, body's been trying to recover faster and faster from. I've been playing a lot of hockey, but it's been kind of nice. I've been working out like 3 days a week and then kind of supplementing in with a lot more extra like puck so it's been fun.
Hybrid athlete.
Oh man, it feels good, but dude, you definitely start to notice when you don't do it consistently as much, like how I was like 5 years ago. Like, it comes back, but it's definitely in like stages and months and
different
months
muscles
as it goes.
You're using that you're not using anymore.
Dude, I'm surprised my hips are holding up the way they are, which is great. But it's again, taking care of yourself. You can still keep doing these things. Even though I'll be 31 this year, which isn't that old, but at the end of the day, oldest one here. And it's I don't know. I feel like I hang with those young kids that are out there just fine. Don't get me wrong. They're a little faster. They definitely are. But they're literally half my age. If they're not faster than me, then they suck.
Yeah.
Just saying.
What's as far as recovery goes, you say you're doing pretty well. I guess for people listening, what's one thing that people could maybe implement? They could be younger. They could be your age, even older. if they're trying to remain highly active in their life, what's a recovery tool they can utilize?
Oh, dude, I will say, so I played in a tournament last weekend, and I will say the one thing I was worried about was like recovering quick enough because I was literally going to play 3 games in one day.
Shit.
So, I mean, literally for one, I upped my water intake. I think I did about maybe 2.5 gallons that day in total because each game was probably only, I don't know, 3 to 4 hours apart.
Yeah.
So luckily I was able to get some meals in between as well, but I kind of focused on like basically high carb meals, fast digesting, stuff that wasn't going to sit in my stomach really quick. And I will say that aided in the recovery side of things. So food and water, literally just the 2 most simplest basically things you can do when it comes to it when you're being that active for the day. And then I will say I actually loaded up on salt heads and glutamine pretty much like crazy in my water.
Those are the 2 biggest ones you need for hydration.
Those are the 2 main
everyone,
ones. Yeah,
salt
those are the
heads,
main
salt
2,
heads.
man. Like salt heads and glutamine. I will
man.
say drinking it on the ice. Like I just put it in my big giant half-gallon jug that I had out there. I put 2 scoops of each in it and just kind of sipped on it. But I'll tell you this much: by the end of the game, I mean the whole thing was gone.
Yeah.
But the following day I wasn't completely dead. Like Sunday, I was like on Easter Sunday, I was actually kind of like, oh man, I'm gonna be done.
I suppose your sleep is pretty good working that hard.
Oh, dude, I slept great. Surprisingly, my recovery per my whoop. My recovery actually exponentially was pretty high on Sunday. So like everything that I did, basically loaded up on food for those 2 days, loaded up on water, loaded up on extra salt in the body, extra glutamine in the body. I mean, actually I did take some creatine too, and that actually helped as well.
Creatine definitely.
But literally, woke up Sunday and I wasn't dead. So
No
I will say
cramps or
that.
anything like that?
Oh, dude, surprisingly not. I mean, sure, I had some muscle cramps like literally the first game, dude, like first freaking shift.
Yeah.
Like also my calves were cramped. I was like, oh no. But luckily, nope, it didn't cramp. And then even on Sunday, dude, I didn't wake up in the middle. I was worried about waking up in the middle of the night with like one of those good old hamstring
That's
cramps.
the worst.
Nice
You
Charlie
know,
horse
like old
too.
Charlie
Yeah.
horse where you just sit there, you just start punching it. Oh, dude,
I got a
yeah.
cramp story once we were done here. Yeah,
Oh my
jeez.
gosh. But I will say that's pretty much what I did for recovery. Literally food, fucking water. Salt heads helped big time. I mean, I think I was double scooping, maybe triple scooping for those couple days right there, and it helped out quite a bit. I mean, muscle memories came back really fast from it. So I mean, body feels great, surprisingly, But again, doing it right, try to.
Then again, too, I mean, just to reiterate, everyone thinks, a lot of people, especially people who are trying to lose body fat, they think like salt is a bad thing. They think water retention, everything. You can see right there, it helped him recover drastically. Every single one of us here utilizes salt to some extent.
Oh yeah, every day, no matter what you consume. Just the more salt you take, just the more water you got to intake. That's the biggest thing. And eventually, you're gonna be consuming. If you take too much salt, you're gonna be taking too much water. Then it's just gonna flush everything out at that point.
Right. And it's funny when you don't utilize your sodium properly, you'll notice it, whether it's a cramp or just poorly recovered or mineral balance is just all off.
Shit, even brain fog. I
Yeah.
mean, your mind just doesn't feel like it's kind of locked in. You feel off.
A lot of times taking like an electrolyte or something like that, sometimes for me, works better than even caffeine, which just
100%.
like starting off your day like that, like I think you start your day with salt heads, right?
I take it every morning.
Yeah, and that's like just that in itself,
First
getting
thing I
yourself
do.
hydrated. It's almost like you can feel like your body just soak everything up, and you wake right up. It's just natural energy that
It's
way.
the same concept as like you take the supplements that say take before a meal or whatever. It's just because it's gonna be the first thing that hits your stomach in the morning. That's what I do is with hydration is I make sure because you're sleeping 8 hours a day, not drinking anything. You wake up every morning, your urine's yellow as can be, and it's just because you're not drinking anything for 8 hours. So that's the first thing I do every morning is take a scoop of salt heads and.
Hell yeah.
Said urine.
And I have proof from the opposite end of that salt, too little salt not working. I remember it's probably about 2 years ago. You guys know who Mike Palm is, obviously. A lot of you guys listening probably know who Mike Palm is. Big classic physique pro in the area. I had trained legs with Mike one day, and it was, for whatever reason, I wasn't able to properly fuel before the workout, so I only had one meal in, obviously a little bit less sodium. Had a great workout, really hard, intense workout. And so I got through it. And then after the fact, didn't think anything of it. But then that night, I actually went out to dinner with my mom. And so we sat down. I sat at the table for like an hour. Didn't move. I just obviously ate food and talked and hung out. But when it was time to go, literally as soon as I moved to try and get up from the table, I took us one step. My right quad started to go. And I'm like, oh, shit, my quad's cramping. And as soon as I went to stretch my quad out, obviously you bend your leg to stretch it out, my hamstring starts going to the same leg. So my leg is just stuck right there in an L position. So I'm like, it was painful. And so then obviously to counteract that, I shifted over to the other side because my good leg is not cramping yet. Well, I put weight in the good leg, quad goes in that leg, then the hamstring goes that way. So I'm sitting there just stuck in the booth just like this. And my mom's like, thought I got shot or something. She's like, what the hell is going on? Just freaking out. And all I could say was pickle juice, pickle juice, pickle juice. And the bartender brought me literally three shot glasses full of pickle juice, slammed them all, and then chugged water. I sat there for 2 minutes. Cramps were cured instantly.
I'd rather suffer. Pickles? I'd rather
So-
suffer.
Really?
I would so much rather suffer.
Ain't that bad.
Oh,
You don't like pickles?
no, the smell, the taste, everything. I'd rather suffer in
I
pain.
played football with a kid who carried around a jar of pickle juice with him. He was kind of a character.
He wasn't loved as a kid.
He was a really interesting kid. Let's just say that. Very interesting kid.
I like pickles.
You
Pickles
guys-
are good for
no,
you.
kids,
He's-
I don't care. I'd rather die.
Yeah.
That's how bad they are.
He carried a briefcase to school.
I'd so much rather be in pain.
So, if you had a gun to your face
Take the bullet.
or a pickle jar, you take
bullet.
it.
Bullet.
Damn, man, you'd rather eat a bullet than a pickle.
Tastes better.
Or is
Yeah.
it just a shape thing? I really wish I would have said that when you were drinking that. That would have been funny, except for Harris might have punched you for getting BCAs on his mic.
BC's would be on me.
Well, yeah, it would have been on you. Well, I'll wait for the next moment.
So, I guess, yeah, I don't really need to talk about myself much. I was sick the last episode.
You got to go in Florida, too.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Florida for a little bit, but I feel like kind of had the plague, whatever week that was. I was really freaking sick.
Seems like a lot of people were that week, though.
Everyone was. Two of my clients who were in prep got sick, too, and I was like, shit, that don't want to fuck up their preps, but we're all fully recovered now. We're good to go. Feels amazing. Visited some family down in Florida the past week, so it's good to get some sun. My shoulders are peeling a little bit, but that's all right.
Hey,
But now we're back,
gotta get some
back in the full swing of things. So we're doing good.
Awesome, man.
But yeah. So for today, we were kind of talking. I think direction or like meat and potatoes of this podcast today is we want to talk about just like I don't know our biggest mistakes that each of us went through when we first started, whether like be in the gym, nutrition wise.
That's a lot.
I know it is a lot. And I
good.
think the cool thing is 3 different individuals, 3 different experiences. Like we'll each be able to add something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking let's go through obviously training. What's some mistakes you made in the training side of things? Diet. What's some nutritional mistakes? If you even focused on a diet at the start, that could be a mistake too. And then if you have anything, supplement mistakes you guys made at the start as well. So popcorn, one of you guys, let her rip.
I guess for training, I want to say when I first started, I kind of started blind where I didn't really know anybody that lifted. I didn't really know anybody to help guide that process, kind of like how a lot of days is now where you can go, because I mean, we didn't have these big commercial gyms here when I started working. All I had was my high school gym.
Yeah.
And we had our strength and conditioning coaches, but that's just could be a random teacher that decided, hey, I want to do it,
Yeah.
So do they know a lot? Yeah, I want to say they knew a lot, but they didn't know how to correct things. So like, especially for me, deadlifting was the biggest mistake. Starting off young, deadlifting to me is a very important skill set, especially in sports. Teaches power, strength, etc. That's why that's why we trained it so much. That's why everybody trains at football, baseball, hockey. Everybody
I grew
trains
up
at
doing
deadlift,
deadlifts, yeah.
But they're also the easiest lift to mess anything up: hamstrings, glutes, back, shoulders, whatever you want. Something's out.
Did you start in a straight bar or a hex bar?
I started straight.
Okay.
Straight bar right away.
Yeah.
Which
Conventional or sumo?
honestly, conventional.
Okay.
Which honestly, as a young kid, I think starting off with the straight bar can be good, but also bad. I think if I were to go back now, I think if I would have started with the hex bar, I could have got the form down better before I went into heavy lifting.
Especially being an athlete, I think a hex bar is way more realistic and it's functional because you're more upright. Think of when you're a kid and you squat down to jump. Like a hex bar kind of mimics that
Well, it
positioning
helps the
a little
power.
bit.
It helps more powerlifting.
A lot better angle on your back, a little bit more lower body focus too. So I mean, if you're younger, just to throw out there, I think if you're trying to get in functional movements, hex bar deadlift over a traditional deadlift
definitely.
is probably better to start.
Definitely, and with the program that I was telling you about that I was on for a little bit, it was a hybrid program where it does athletics, powerlifting, sort of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And they only did hex bar. That was only it. And even sometimes they did it with a plate underneath, so you still get higher up. So you still can get the range of motion, but it's not as much pressure on your back, where it's more focused on the, it's not you're possibly rounding it, everything like that. So that's why I appreciated that, because it takes a lot of less pressure, it's more on your legs, that driving power.
Yeah.
So when it came to starting out, I didn't know how to properly, keep my back straight. I didn't know how to properly hold it against my legs. So when I would deadlift, I would always have it arch my back.
Yeah.
I mean, that took me damn near probably until I was even 20 years old to fix that.
Really?
You know, just because granted I had my flat feet and stuff like that, I kind of have a play in that a little bit. But the older I got, I had to make tweaks. You know, like not necessarily even conventional. You can still like I don't go. You know what you see online, like conventional where your feet are dang near touching, right? Like my conventional now, I would say is about shoulder width because that's when I find it comfortable. Where have you seen Brian Shaw deadlift?
Yeah.
Kind of how he has that wider stance.
Yeah.
That works for me.
Okay.
I have to get that wider stance in order to get that proper, you know, proper straight back the whole way, proper glutes get down lower, like everything. That's the way I do it. And I wish I would have known that earlier because my first injury was when I was, I think it's like 17. I think it was when I first started getting lifting. I had my first injury from lifting. It was straight back because when I was deadlifting.
Lower back, I'm guessing?
Yeah. It was all lower back. You
So
know.
both you guys grew up lifting in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I didn't.
Just for sports though.
Well, it's like, you know, like we pushed lifting, but like most of the athletes only focused on movements and lifts that would benefit like their actual
Yeah,
workouts. So
definitely.
like it kind of shows the difference of like my generation of growing up where we're not that far apart in age, but like where we were from, it was a lot more when we did our lifts. I can tell you this much, we never did any deadlift for hockey ever. Mainly, and I was always wondering about that too because all my like football buddies did it and stuff like wrestling, whatever. But then when I went to like camp and stuff like that, that strength and conditioning coach actually that we're gonna meet in Brainerd, I mean, he was the one that actually pushed on just doing hex bar because again, being a hockey player, your back is your strongest one of your strongest points.
I think
If
in
you
every
injure,
sport, too.
in every sport,
Yeah.
your back's your strong point. If that gets injured or tweaked in any way, well, now you're gonna jeopardize, you know, your athletics on like what you're gonna, you know, potentially do. So like we actually never deadlifted, like in the weight training, you know, portion of like our camp that we were training at. I don't recall deadlifts ever being there. Hex bar, yes.
Yeah.
I remember like the hack squat jump rack that we had there. That was strictly for power.
Yep.
That was a lot of posterior movement and whatnot. I mean, we had a lot of other things that we would do to like,
You guys would do like box jumps and stuff, I'm guessing.
tons of box jump,
broad jumps.
Russian boxes and stuff like that.
So everything that involves power pretty much.
Correct. You know, so we never actually touched deadlift just because, again, like the injure factor, you know.
And even now as an adult, I think deadlift, honestly, in my opinion, I don't think it's a movement you should do unless you're competing in some sort of athlete.
I think it's a movement you should still do, but not necessarily have to go to the 500, 600, 700 pound range. I do think it's a move that should be mastered and done right and correctly because it does help increase a lot of that posterior strength. So I would say it's not necessarily a no-go move, but I would say it's a move with like
Traditional
put the
way of
ego
doing it,
down and just lift 225 on it. Put the ego down. Just rep out 185. Perfect the form, the pump, and the feeling of the muscle movement versus, well, my buddy does 405. I'm just going to toss 405 on him and I are the same size, this and that. It's like, okay, but how long has he been deadlifting? Where's his format and what's his goal with it?
Definitely.
You know, is he actually going for a certain PR number? Is he looking to compete in it? You're like, you know, so I guess like it's not necessarily, I say a no-go movement because like I still do like to do it once in a while.
Would you do rack pulls or deadlifts? If you're the average guy that goes to the gym, just stay healthy. Would you
Average
say,
guy, like I would, if you had a back injury in the past and this and that, I would say rack pulls over deadlifts for sure. Like if you have the means to do rack pulls still, then yes, I would say rack pulls are a great alternative to doing it because you can still get that low enough motion, but you're not putting excess stress on the back. But the thing is, I think there could be a potentially higher risk for injury on rack pulls more so
Because of
than
the ego getting involved, do you think?
yeah, because some of the ego getting involved and you're just gonna it was like, well, now I'm kind of assisted, now I'm gonna throw 3 plates on each side.
And I think so. Rack pulls are a good option, but then something you can even pair that with. Have you guys seen the reverse hyper machine, or where you lay down and then it's almost like a swing and you hook your legs into it?
Oh yeah.
And you kick your legs back. That's gonna kind of hit like the glutes, lower back a lot safer way too. Where if like you could supplement like a rack pull, so you're still getting that pulling. Feed your ego a little bit that way, not to kill yourself, but just you get for the sake of pulling. But then you could pair that with like some accessory work of like a reverse hyper of some kind, just to get some type of hinge work. Because we have to think. A hinge, that's a foundational movement that we do in everyday life. Think of when we bend over, pick something up or whatever. It can determine like our explosiveness, mobility, and even just like longevity. Think of when elderly people, when they get older and they just get stiff. Hinging is a foundational piece of life. So I'm not saying load 700 pounds in the bar, but be able to do some type of deadlift, hinge safely so you can at least have that motor pathway built up throughout your life.
Definitely.
Like, honestly, like for someone that maybe has hurt back, I mean, obviously, if they still want to do that style, hex bar still, honestly, is probably the overall.
I mean, that's why I switched to hex bar now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the overall best bet. You know, combination of rack pulls, deadlifts, this and that. I think hex bar is a really good, nice, safe route to go. But you can still go relatively heavy on a hex bar. You know, you can push yourself quite a bit on a hex bar just because, in my opinion, it feels more like a squat.
Yeah.
But
I compare it a lot to a leg press, actually. Just
yeah,
that range of motion
you know,
you get.
you know what's nice is you get some grip strength in there. You know, because like I'm not a strap guy.
I'm not a strap either.
You know, so it's like if I can't freaking grip it, you know, if I can't grip it, I that's just old school myself. I mean, if I can't grip it, I can't lift it.
Yep.
I had an old school bodybuilder dude say that to me once when I was like using all that stuff, and he was just like, "Well, hey man, if you can't grip it, you can't lift it." And I'm like, of course, I'm 19. I'm like, all right, well, let's see what's.
I had the same thing when I was in the Marine Corps. I had some higher enlisted come up to me and he goes, "Don't be lifting that if you can't hold it." And I was like, okay.
I will say grip strength though is probably one of the number one things you should have as like on a day-to-day basis. 100%.
Oh yeah.
Like having a good strong grip strength, that's probably a necessity in my opinion.
Yep.
And that's something I think you just get over the time of lifting weights and training and workouts, and doesn't matter whether it's heavy lifting or freaking being able to do 100 pull-ups. Doing 100 pull-ups straight that's grip strength.
I mean, shit, being able to shake someone's hand properly too.
Yeah.
We
all have met those dudes that got a pretty loose grip.
Or when they just grab like right here, and they're just like,
just grab your fingers.
Like, just grab the
just
fingers.
go,
it's like, hey, bro, like, what are we doing here, man? You want me to tickle your palm too while I'm at it?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
I had a dude try and fight me one time because he said I shook his hand too hard. Yeah.
I'd have been like, oh.
Tell him to get a
Okay, well, let's go outside.
I mean, I had some words for him to just basically, I wasn't this polite, but basically just told him to strengthen up his grip, and he didn't like that. Yeah.
So it's like, well, just maybe go pick up some weight, or maybe go throw a hay bale once in a while.
Well, that's how I started, farm work. That's how I started lifting, is farm work pretty much. And then one thing led to another. I just found out I couldn't lift a trailer and move it, so I said, I'm going to the gym, and here we are.
Dude, my grip strength got strong hockey. Because I think all you're doing is you're snapping forearms fucking left and right. I mean, me and my buddies growing up, we literally took the freaking 500 pucks a day, thing like serious that coaches and pro players did back in the day. We literally shot 500 pucks a day or more. Because depending on it, you just really give a shit 2 hours later. But dude, grip strength, that would just get the snapping forearm.
Yep, that works.
Or for you, it's never mind.
I think a big. For me, this could go a lot of different ways. I think, obviously, social media is very beneficial, and you can learn a lot from it. But for me, I was the kid who kind of went down the wrong end of social media as, like, a tool to learn a little bit. Like, you go to social media to learn something. YouTube, Instagram. Like, you have, like, your influencer you watch, you look up to, and you learn from them. For me, I just had shit luck of finding influencers and people I was learning from who, obviously were in good shape. But the advice they were giving, looking back on it, they really had no clue what they were talking about. But me being a naive young kid following all that, still made progress. But if I could go back and do a lot of it differently, I would. Like, for example, I would have trained legs regularly as a little kid because I was told by one influencer that having big legs is not aesthetic. So I didn't train legs for the first 6 months of lifting.
The shit we believe when we're young.
Yeah. Like,
it's worse now because what you see on social media is worse than it was then.
Yeah.
I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah. Or even just... I think just simple little things like just form. Obviously, it's the biggest thing. Like when you start out, it's a lot of it is ego. So you're doing. I still have videos because I would record my sets when I was younger and try and analyze my form and stuff. And I look back and I cringe looking at myself trying to do like a bench press like this and shit like that.
Facebook memory pop-ups like, oh.
Yeah, and I mean for me specifically, back when I was in school, like we lifted weights 3 times a week. We ran the program. You guys probably heard of Bigger, Faster, Stronger. So it's like a combination of like explosive compound movements. So with a lot of power clean, squat, bench, deadlift, obviously. Paired that with a little bit of hypertrophy stuff and then a lot of like conditioning work as well. So I did that 3 days a week with my football team. Pretty much year round. During the season, we kind of took a little bit of time off because we were practicing for several hours every day. But with that, you kind of brought up the same thing. Like coaches, maybe it's a PE teacher, just even like just your average Joe high school gym teacher or whatever.
Yep.
They don't specialize in body mechanics and kinesiology and all that stuff. Maybe some do, but most of them don't.
If you do, you get pretty lucky in that aspect. We got lucky. Yeah.
At our school, we had his name is Mr. Aho.
Really?
Dude was kind of dude, the dude was tiny. I mean, I'm not shitting you, dude. This dude was probably, I don't know, 5'6", maybe 5'7"-ish. I mean, he was a smaller guy.
Yeah.
Ripped out of his mind. But the thing is, he was a wrestling coach, right?
Oh.
And then he also was the weightlifting coach or teacher and stuff like that. But we got lucky with him because, like, technically that's how when I was younger, he taught us form.
Yeah.
So, like, I never really had to deal with the whole form thing because I was taught at a young age how, like, correctly to bench or squat. So, like, that's probably why I haven't really had any of the shoulder injuries and stuff like that from, learning it as I go type of thing. Now, there is other things that I've learned from form that I was doing wrong 100%. But we were one of the schools that I think got very, very fortunate with the teacher and the gentleman and the mentor that we had for weightlifting and just body mechanics, how to be strong mentally. Oh my gosh, dude. I mean, that dude, funny story before we get back to it, he caught me with a dipping once.
Oh, shit.
In school, right? So he wasn't really known for sending you to the office for, like, a referral or whatever, you get in trouble.
Punish you the old-fashioned way?
Punish you the old-fashioned way. I
Yep.
remember he came up and he basically put his thumb and, what's that, buddy? And just squished, the dip in the back of my mouth and just all over. And I was like instantly about to throw up. And I was like, well, can I go spit it out? And he was like, yeah, in about a minute you can. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just had to sit there with just chew all in my mouth, dude. It was horrible. I mean, I was like 16 or 15 or something like that at the time too. So I mean, it sucked. I mean, it took everything in me not to throw up for 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I instantly just went to the freaking waterfall and dude. But again, strong teacher. We got fortunate on that side of things. I will say, as growing up for my generation. 100%.
Might not fly nowadays, but we need more shit like that, quite honestly.
He was definitely a teacher that cared about the students.
Yeah.
He definitely was. He's one of the most memorable teachers I have from growing up because he taught a lot of kids that were going through rough times with their home lives or whatever it is. He taught them just how to toughen up, how to get past it, make sure you talk about it, type of thing. I mean, how to kind of like what to expel that energy out on.
Yeah.
Which he was like, well, do it on your sports, do it on the wrestling team, do it in the weight room. Like essentially, like that's the time. That's the time to expel that negative energy from the rough trials and tribulations that we're given. So like he was the shit. Yeah, we need more teachers like him again because. In my opinion, he probably changed most of that generation's lives going forward, or at least no matter what, he at least planted a seed in every single one of them, and everyone has that in them.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the cool part about him.
Hell yeah.
He was the shit.
That's awesome.
And I wrestled him a couple times. Bad idea.
Dude, wrestlers are some of the strongest.
Oh my gosh, dude. And
they're tiny half the time, but they can lift some damn weight.
Dude, I watched him just throw around like 200-pound kid, 250-pound kids like they were rag dolls.
Yeah.
And this dude's probably a $165, $170, maybe. So that's probably being very generous, honestly.
So you guys that stick with it for long term, they're definitely impressive.
Oh, he was just ridiculously strong for his size.
Watching the wrestlers, like, because they play football, and a lot of wrestlers played football in the fall, and it's like, dude, I played this football with this one kid named Carson Cross. He was maybe like 5'4", little Filipino kid, but every time his go-to tackle was picking the dude up, like, and throwing him on his head on the ground. He got penalized like every single game because he would literally just pick dudes up twice his size and throw them right to the ground.
Single leg takedowns.
And that dude was a menace, but he was tiny.
Yeah.
And it's that wrestler type of personality. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
I guess back on talking a little bit.
Going back, like I was trying to get at, like when you were in a high school setting, a lot of times there's a shit ton of kids and very little eyes in those kids.
Oh yeah.
So what I was told growing up is, for example, bench press, all you got to do, push the weight up, touch your chest, go back up. That was basically all I was told. I wasn't told on how to lower the weight, what
where to put your hands, where to position your hands, where to position your elbows.
Just move the weight. Just move the weight, which they instilled a lot of like intensity and discipline with it in us, but at what risk basically to mess up your health. So a lot of it was just very simple stuff like that.
They don't personalize the lift to you, right? They just tell you the basics, and then they don't personalize the stuff. If you're struggling with something,
as long as you're getting your butt below parallel on a squat, you're good.
Yeah, but all of a sudden you realize your leg's tweaked or your foot position's weird, and it's like, oh, wait,
and
there's more to it.
every year I had a hamstring injury, and that was like my Achilles heel every year. And I look back, I'm like, well, we'll get into diet here in a little bit, but I look at my diet, I'm like, my diet didn't support the amount of output I was doing. My form didn't match what it should have been. That, and another thing I did too was just, when I kind of broke away from the football style of training, got more into like the hypertrophy bodybuilding style of training, I was under the impression that, a lot of times more is better, And then a lot of times, sometimes less is more. But I was under the impression 24/7 that more is better. So I would go probably months without taking a rest day, just doing a shit ton of volume in the gym, just trying to what I thought was hard. Looking back, probably wasn't that hard. But for where I was, not letting my body rest at all. And so where I was kind of just eating away at my body a little bit. And I was like, why am I not making the strength gains or the progress that I should have been? Because I was just like, I got to go. Never took time to rest, really. Which eventually you get to a point and you're like, well, maybe I'll give this whole rest thing a shot. Take a rest day. Take 2-3 rest days a week. And that's when I really saw myself just kind of like explode and get stronger, bigger, leaner. Like, rest is huge.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I think that no one ever does. Even now, a lot of people are too scared to rest.
Yeah.
Well, another thing is too is just with everybody's schedules and this and that they're busy and this and that. You know, I don't have time to rest, or I don't have time to sleep, or I can't get 6 hours of sleep or 8 hours. It's like, you probably can.
You have enough to, if you actually sit there and just
take a peek, and
and
you take it, like, say, like when I did that program 75 Hard. I mean, the number one thing I took from that program wasn't the physical aspect of it. One of the things was it was the discipline side of things, but it was mainly the crap. Now I just freaking brain fired. Shit.
75 Hard wasn't necessarily the workout.
Oh, yeah. So literally 70. So, oh, wow, man. See, it's been a long freaking week. Anyways, but yeah, no, the number one thing I learned from it was that it was time management actually from it. Or like realizing how much extra time I actually had in my day, because everybody was like, oh, the second workout's always the hardest thing to do. And it's like, but it's only 45 minutes. So, I mean, like, realistically, when it came down to it, when I was going through it and I was 30 days in, 60 days in, I was starting to realize, like, holy crap, like, no matter what, you have the time to do it. Like, if you have time to get all those small little things done, because there are super small habits in 75 Hard that technically changes to a really, really huge gain, or at least kind of, you know, waking yourself up to like, oh, wow, like, I'm sitting over here complaining like I don't have enough time, and it's like, no, realistically,
it's like you probably have 8 hours extra a day.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I think I calculated out, I had almost like 4 to 6 hours depending on, you know, the day or the shift if I was working and stuff like that. It all depending on, you know, how light I was here. And technically during that whole 75 Hard, I was working here like Monday through Saturdays. So to get my second workout in, I mean, I was getting it in at 9, 10 o'clock at night. But the thing is I still did it. I felt great after doing it, and I would sleep like a baby, and I'd get up at 7, I'd do it again, and it was. But the thing is, every time I did it, I still had like an hour of time to do whatever, eat again, make some more food, read my book a little bit more, and then just 10 pages, whatever it was. I started.
That's another one. Is you have to read at least 10 pages a book a day, right?
Well, the thing is, it's a self-help, like, development style book. Though. It can't be just going to read like a John Grisham book or something like that. You can't do that. That doesn't count. You know, it's got to be a book that's actually going to help you develop like your mind, your business, your, you know, just yourself.
Something beneficial. Actually.
Correct. Something beneficial that's actually going to be helpful to you to read. Which, again, some of those books may be boring, but I will say once you actually start reading them
and apply them to your life, actually.
Yeah, I think so. For my favorite one's Atomic Habits. I can't remember the author. I'm kind of spacing that one, but that was the first book I read during 75 Hard, and it was literally the definition of even the smallest freaking habits, to the point of like when your alarm goes off, you're just
not
up.
hitting snooze.
Not hitting snooze. You're just getting up.
Yep.
Like stupid small habits like that can compile into huge habit changes
like that,
in the future. Like whether all of a sudden like a business opportunity comes up and all of a sudden, boom, your habits are in check where you're like, dang, I can do that. I can take that on now.
Because that's my plan once the back sister opens, is I'm happening at 75 Hard right away. Because I don't get the discipline, even though I'll be working a lot. I want that discipline kind of distilled in me still. And like that's the goal, is to start that program once the store starts.
Yeah, and the thing is, what's nice about you, man, you understand discipline highly, you know, because you're going to the Marine Corps. So, like, that's why I believed in you as a partner and whatnot, because I was like, you know, this kid, for one, already has, like, the biggest key to the puzzle, in my opinion, which is discipline. You can fill in the gaps with a lot of the other stuff. A lot of the other stuff can be taught, and it can be learned over time through your trials and errors. But, like, discipline is one of the, in my opinion, that's a hard one to get taught.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because you have to choose it. I can't make you do nothing. I mean, I can make you do nothing as a boss in here, whatever, but it's like I can't make you in life do anything with it if you don't have the discipline to actually apply it. So that's why I see what I see in you as a partner.
For us, we were slammed in that. That's one thing that I'm grateful for, that I take away from the Marine Corps most, is that side of things. And like I said, even when it comes to our starting mistakes, is you didn't have those disciplines either. You know, the older you get, you know, not everybody still gets it. And I think this easiest way to actually get discipline is just making sure you work out at least 4 times a week. That's the easiest way to gain discipline. That's the basics.
Even if it's 45 minutes each one of those time for workouts, it doesn't matter. 45 minutes every day, roughly the same time if you can. and it compiles up very quick.
And that's why 75 hard is so nice, because it forces you to do that early morning workout outside, or at least one workout a day outside.
Well, the thing is, it also forces you to make the choice.
Yep.
So you do actually decide to do it. And, instead of, because I always think when you look at it, like, especially in the fitness realm, that's one big mistake I think a lot of people look at is, like, and say they're buying these diets or they're buying these plans from, online coaches. Not saying all online coaches are bad. There's a lot of good ones out there. But, like, especially like the diet fads, that kind of pop up through the years. They're sitting there blowing all the money on it. And it's like, well.
It's a lazy excuse.
But the thing is like you spent all that money on it, but you still didn't make the decision to change the habit. You did nothing to actually change the habit. Sure, you swipe the card.
People will spend hundreds of dollars.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands. I mean, I hate throwing my mom under the bus, but, she'll, like, text me all out of nowhere, and I'm like,
I mean, shit, my mom too.
yeah,
She's
and it's also just like, oh, I'm trying
this.
this out, or I'm trying this out. I'm just like,
Well, like that Herbalife stuff, everyone's all on board for it, but they don't actually look into it. But they're so easy to actually give their money to those people without even knowing a thing, or even following through how you're actually supposed to take these products.
You look at the exposure, these fad diets or companies or whatever it is, that reaching hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah, at least one in those hundreds of thousands of people is down to get some good results. So people see these few testimonials
But
here.
those are the ones that are disciplined in the process.
Out of the hundreds, maybe millions of people who are on board with this thing, and they're seeing this small percentage of people who have actually benefited from it. That's just a small sliver. Let alone what did everyone else do? Did everyone else even follow it?
oh, dude, it's probably like a 1% success rate, in my
So
opinion.
of course, the keto diet or whatever, there's going to be
But
people it works
marketing
for.
is key.
Yeah, marketing is key. So that's where the education piece comes into play. And that's why we do this podcast just to help people educate themselves so they don't fall into certain traps like that. Or even give people the common sense to maybe say, fuck going to here for help. I'm just going to figure it out myself and then ask for help along the way.
Well, and that's the thing is, we're in a time and frame where I think we're kind of are going to see a shift where a lot of people are getting to that point where they're starting to figure out, like, I spent X amount of dollars on this, and now they're starting to figure out, like, well, my local Nutrishop basically told me, they're like, literally eat clean whole foods for a month straight and just see how you feel after that. And then come talk to us.
Just eat clean food.
Yeah, don't even buy supplements. Literally just go and freaking eat 30 days straight of whole foods. And then when you figure out what your body needs, then you can supplement in gaps essentially of what you're lacking or what you want to elevate more.
And that's one thing like I took away from California too is, I mean, you preached even before I was in California. It's like we needed to, we really give the information. Like, the information is the biggest part. If you just come information and we give you the right information, you like it, let us know, and then we'll keep giving you that information and let us know that we're doing it right, because that means it helps us as people, not even as businesses, as individuals, that we know what we're talking about. If we can actually help the next person, and the next person after that.
Right.
Anybody comes in, because like I said, we're not in this for, like, if we're in this only for money, we're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get into this business. I mean, sure, I got into it to make a living.
Yeah.
But make a living, I didn't necessarily get into this to become rich.
Yep.
To become famous.
Sure,
by any
money's a
means.
part of it. We need
money's a part of it. We
obviously.
need money so we can, for one, keep, valid inventory for all of our customers, or new stuff coming in, or whatever, promos, sponsorships, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's what all flows through this. And like I said, I mean, like, sure, is there an ROI, at some point? Sure. But for the most part, I'm just trying to invest in the community and in people with education, knowledge, like all stuff that I literally wish I would have learned a lot more when I was in my early 20s or late teens and this and that. I mean, don't get me wrong, like food-wise, I actually learned a lot about food growing up. That was one mistake that I made the choice to eat like shit.
I didn't learn food until I was probably 21.
Well, I mean, like the guy that I went and owned that gym with.
Let's jump into food. Keep it going. Let's jump into the food side of things. Mistakes there.
Well, yeah. Like the thing is like as a teenager, I actually grew up eating relatively healthy, not only for my mom, but don't get me wrong, we had plenty of hamburger, spaghetti, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But but I grew up with this friend. Their family was like super, really, really big into holistic, naturopathy style living, very much whole foods, this and that. But I mean,
It's the wheatgrass family, right?
Yeah, this was my best friend growing up. Literally, probably my best friend. And I would go over there all the time, and I would get fed these meals that I couldn't tell you what they are today. Really couldn't. I know one of them was tofu. Wasn't my favorite meal, but I mean, I will say it was pretty decent for what it was at the time. I mean, dude, literally, we were sitting in the hot tub in there. His dad would just bring us like wheatgrass shots or like these like carrot pumpkin type of shots that were super good.
My family.
Super good for like your gut health, super good for like your brain health, whatever it is. And it's like I took it stuff because for one, they didn't give me a choice. Because they were like, basically, well, you don't get to eat any dinner if you don't have this first. It's like, oh, okay. So.
Meanwhile, I'm over there having bologna sandwiches and everything.
But I will say I'm very thankful for that knowledge because it did play out a lot where I could, when I got to like 2021, when I got super serious into like wanting to lift and potentially compete or whatever, I was able to look back on all of that type of stuff I was eating, and I was like, well, shoot, maybe I'll just start going buy all that stuff now, start applying it in my day-to-day regimen, and guess what? I mean, it made a huge difference. I will say once I was implementing a lot more whole foods, the biggest thing was actually at that age was implementing the right amount. Because of how active I was, this and that, and that's where, like, you know, my buddy's brother was the one that kind of helped me on the food plan side of things to be able to kind of figure out what to do. Because this dude was kind of a freak of nature, in my opinion, when it came to physicality. Kind of a, you know, Captain America, like, but living.
Yeah.
So, but everything that he wanted to do with me, he like would monitor my activity with hockey. You know, how much basically potential calories are you, how much are you burning during that, and then now how many days a week you're exercising, working out, training,
Yeah.
I mean, it came down to where it was just an astronomical amount of food because for one, I wasn't going to stop playing hockey.
Yeah.
So, but I will say that made the biggest role, even though I thought I was eating way too much. I was full quite a bit until about 6 weeks in. That's when I was basically hungry 24/7.
Your body just
your
kicked
body
into
adapts
it.
to it.
Yeah, it kicked into gear. I mean, literally every 2 hours on the nuts. I mean, I was hungry. I was ready to eat something. And if I didn't have my food with me, it was almost like a quick crash fast.
That's how it should
be. And that's how it realistically should be. That means that my body, my metabolism at that time was operating very, very well. But like as we just kept eating more, it just got better and better. I kept actually losing body fat percentage. I mean, it was the leanest I ever got, and I was still 250, 260 pounds.
Yeah. Wow. And I think a lot of times, just to interrupt here, a lot of times people get so, weight loss people, they're so focused on like trying not to be hungry because obviously when they're losing weight, like they're like, oh, and what if I get hungry? It's like people forget that hunger is a natural bodily response, and it's being hungry is like a good thing because it lets you know your body is functioning in all cylinders,
and it needs more nutrients.
Your body is primed to take in nutrients. When if you're never hungry, I hate to say it, but there's something inside your gut or diet or whatever it is that's holding things up. Your body's not going to respond the way it should be. So when you are hungry, be happy. That's your body letting you know it's doing good.
Yeah, 100%. Being hungry is not a bad thing, and that's definitely I love when I work with like individuals that are always kind of like, you know, stuck on that side of things, and I'm just like, no, like, you know, you want to be hungry. Like our goal is to spark the metabolism up as fast as we can, so that's where we get you to a point where you can still enjoy a donut.
Yeah.
Now it's not 6 donuts, but you can enjoy one.
But you can take in that donut, your body run right through it, and you'll be just fine.
Correct. Yeah. And you know, you're not gonna. You can be like at that point. Hopefully, we get your body to a point where you're monitoring. You know, essentially when you're getting insulin spikes, this and that. I mean, there's a whole science behind all of it.
And when you play that around like your training or practice or game, like that's when you can really make a lot of progress. Is when you learn how to eat based on when your body's going to demand more food.
Well, especially like too, like how me and you did too. Like whenever time we'd go out, you know, we're like, okay, well, what's tomorrow? Like for the gym. Like I remember when you go to Five Guys, you're like, well, what are you training tomorrow? It's like legs. Like, yeah, we can go to Five Guys today.
Yeah.
You know.
And we'd eat our Five Guys, have an amazing workout the next day. Now it's Five Guys perfect. Probably not. But that being said,
but your body will still utilize those nutrients. They may not be the best ones, but they still use it. Yeah.
We could run right through it, and it had a whole lot of benefit, from my opinion, too. You know.
Yeah, the biggest thing is training your body's metabolism. That's why I always tell you the first initial, when somebody's brand new to it, I'm flat out with them like, it sucks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
First 12 months, then they're like 12 months.
Sometimes it takes more.
And I'm like, well, how old are you? And they're like, oh, I'm 36. And it's like,
yeah,
what's 36 years has gone by relatively quick, right? What's another 12 months to potentially add 5 to 10 more years on the back end from the 10 years that you've wasted essentially maybe
probably
just
20 years worth of putting your body into this unresponsive state. If it took 20 years of just constantly bogging down your body,
12 months is not.
Do you think you're going to get out of that in a week? No, 12 months is a sliver of time.
Yeah. Especially like I try to break it down to, when you break it down to people like that, I think it helps them a lot more, like actually like process it. I mean, if somebody, when people like coaches break stuff down to me like that, I am able to respond, critically think that basically what they're saying to me a lot faster, and then compartmentalize it where I need to apply it.
Yep.
So like I like to just throw it out there to new individuals when they're starting a weight loss journey that there's no magic pill. Like there are certain supplements that sure that will aid and help out. But I was like, at the end of the day, if you're not going to change what you're eating, you're not going to start drinking more water, you're not going to cut out the crap like pop and this and that.
Takes a whole lifestyle change.
It's a small sliver of change for a year to change your nutrition for just 12 months. And just watch what your body does.
But it's inconvenience to people. That's why they don't do it.
Well, and it does suck that, you know, pretty much it is more expensive to eat healthy than
now
it is to
eat
unhealthy.
I will argue that with you.
It depends.
If you go the simple route, you know, meat, simple carb sources, fruits, vegetables, I think you can be way more efficient with your money.
Well, it depends, too. If you're the people that like the pure organic, right? I know nothing's organic anymore.
But the thing
is,
is, like,
organic and fuck not organic. I don't care. If you were eating simple foods, and you are cost efficient and you meal plan
There
and
is a
you
way
buy
around it,
in
yeah.
bulk,
Yes.
I feel like that's way cheaper. Just
There's
think of
definitely
it.
a way around
you
it.
go to fucking McDonald's, you spend $20 on a drink, entree, and like a side or whatever. You can spend $20 and eat for 2 whole days on simple, healthy foods if you do it right.
Yeah.
You know? Fuck
If you
organic,
do it
fuck
right.
not. Better than putting shit in your body.
I'm saying is there is that route you can take for if you are more money conscious, right?
Yeah.
But there is those people. I'm just gonna throw my sister on the bus too. Is she's that organic freak, right? She needs everything organic, and there's people out there like that that won't touch anything that's not organic.
And I'm a full proponent of organic, grass-fed, not non-GMO. If you can afford that, cool.
Awesome,
But if you're the average
that's the
person
thing.
who's 300 pounds and can't see their toes, you shouldn't be worried about
Organic or
sucralose or,
not,
that.
yeah.
You should be worried about getting that 20 pounds off you and putting some good food in your body, organic or not.
Yep.
100%.
Because I mean, for the most part, I mean, again, remember we're a part of a small niche where, but the thing is like if individuals are relatively okay, you can get some basic ingredients and make it taste good.
Yeah.
Like my number one favorite is we do basically whole food burritos, where we just go get bulk buy in some grass fed beef, you know, if we're able to. Otherwise, realistically, at the end of the day, I just at least get 90-10 minimum for my beef when it comes down to it, and then we literally just will season it lightly, you know, basically basic salt, pepper, a little bit of taco
And they
seasoning,
do make
Cajun,
seasonings
chili
that are actually
seasoning.
relatively healthy for you. That
Well,
taste
yeah,
good.
we do a lot of like Cajun and chili seasoning all on the beef and whatnot. Add some
Simply
black beans.
Learning how to cook it too, not
Yeah.
burning your shit or
Burning
cooking
it,
it for time.
undercooking it,
Learning
yeah.
how to get everything right.
Well, cooking ground beef is like honestly probably one of the more easiest things you can do. You
I'm
can
a
cook
firm
takes
believer
10
that
minutes.
red meat, you shouldn't need any sauce on red meat if you cook it right.
Yep.
'Cause if you cook it right, you get all the flavor in that red meat.
Yeah, you season it correctly with the right type of season. Like I said, chili and Cajun are kind of the main ones we use for one. I mean, they're all really good for you. We also will throw cayenne and
Yeah.
into
I'm a
it.
big lemon pepper guy. I'll throw
But
that
it's
in.
like
See, I'm a sauce guy. I like my yum yum sauce.
Hey, I ain't saying sauce bad either,
yeah.
but I'm just saying you cook red meat right, and for the amount of people who don't take the time to look at the little things, preparing your food is a little thing that can help you enjoy your food a lot more.
Dude,
hell, even
we live off of
yesterday.
freaking burrito bowls. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, we'll cook it in bulk, and then we'll literally just live off it for the next 2 weeks. But the thing is, it's nutritious. It's hitting what we need to eat for food wise, and we don't really get tired of it. What's so funny? When I get tired of the bowl sides, I literally would just go throw it in a tortilla,
No tortilla, make it
and it completely changes
different, or change the seasoning a little bit.
or change the seasoning a little bit, or
Yep.
make it a little bit spicier this round, or a little bit less spicier, maybe a little sweeter.
You get the same thing every day, but if you change the seasoning
Because
or
like
sauce, it's a
technically,
different
I
meal.
think Jess and I mean, between us two, like we're cooking for two and this and that throughout the weeks. I mean, we probably spend $250 roughly a month right now, and that gets us everything. We're basically doing all burrito bowls.
And you're still maintaining your calories a day.
Yeah.
Think of how many times people DoorDash and go out to eat.
Well, that's
I
the
guarantee they
thing, it's
spend probably
convenience.
triple that amount.
It's
But that's what I'm saying. You
convenience.
can do it for cheaper. Like we're doing it for a little bit cheaper because like if we got everything we wanted with how groceries are right now, I mean, it would be like $600-700.
So eating healthy, whatever you want to describe healthy as, it's not as expensive as you make it out to be.
No,
I think if you truly are not eating healthy because you think it's too expensive, then you were just a lazy person making an excuse
Like
for
I'm sorry,
yourself.
Costco's got a 55 freaking pound bag of rice that you can, or jasmine rice that you can buy for them.
$25.
Yeah, and
Lasts you
it's
2 months.
Yeah, it's 2 months. I mean,
For us,
for,
I mean, the
for
average
us,
person,
for like an average individual that's just kind of getting into it, kind of like trying to figure out how
lasts
the
like a
cost
half a
effectiveness.
year.
We're talking 6 months probably
Yeah.
for one bag of rice, and they're
Well, you got
golden.
the 12 pack of chicken breasts that come with 2 chicken breasts per pack, whatever it is.
Yep.
Like you can get that for
Average
$38.
person-
Probably
average
2
person
weeks right
probably
there.
eats
Yeah.
roughly 2,500 calories if they're trying to lose fat. That's will last you a long
Be grateful
time.
if you're trying to lose weight. It's cheaper. Like trust me, losing weight's cheaper.
Yeah.
Because when I go on my bulk, I'll go through that 12 pack of chicken in a week.
Well, and also just like paying attention to actually your portions and what
Yeah.
you're intaking, because like if you're over portioning, you're trying to budget, do this. Well, then essentially you need to make sure you're actually sticking to your portions on it, basically every single meal that you
Well,
need.
plus if you overeat too, you're only consuming 40% of that meal anyways.
Correct.
Because
Right.
the rest of it's either waste and is put to waste or put to energy. It's one of those two, or it's going to use for consumption proteins that go in your muscles.
I think. Are you guys gonna keep going there? Because
Well, I mean, like, I guess let's put it this way: what's some of the best, basically cost-effective, honestly, foods to go to?
I mean,
what's your go-to?
Rice, chicken breast.
rice.
I mean, really, realistically, rice, chicken
meat,
breast, beef,
Add whatever vegetables, whatever you
steak.
want, and just season it however you want. That's literally.
You don't
what-
need to spend $20 on the fancy seasoning.
If you want more Chipotle bowl style, then get some like
Don't get
certain
McCormick, but
Yeah.
season it and kind of cook it up like Chipotle style a little bit. If you want more of just like a plain route, you can cook it plain. It's all down to the person. That's part of the fun. I honestly like cooking because you can make your shit to taste the way you want it.
hey, man, you want to know where we got a lot of cooking tips? I know it's crazy. Master Chef.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
love those
shitting you,
shows.
dude.
I love
Gordon
those
Ramsay
shows.
and whatnot. I ain't shitting you, dude. Literally, Jess and I have watched a bunch of it just because sometimes we have a little extra time. We play it as background noise mostly when we're
I know,
trying
every
to do
time I'm
stuff
in
around
your
the
house,
kitchen.
we're either watching
Yeah, just
Top
like
Chef
background
or
noise for
something
whatever we're
else.
doing around the kitchen, around the house. But like, I will tell you this much. Well, I don't even bother cooking anymore because Jess freaking. She's on the money now. I mean, it's kind of how much we learned from that show on seasoning, especially when it comes to like your red meats. Literally, you need minimal to make a red meat. As long as you get a decent cut of steak and you know how to heat it up right. I mean, you can make it taste like freaking Texas Roadhouse, wherever you freaking go to eat out all the time. You can make that steak taste
Well, I
just
can make
as
a better
good.
steak than I go to any
My
restaurant.
dad, when I was younger, used to literally get insulted and mad at me when I would put sauce on his steak
Well, yeah,
or
you
something
shouldn't
he
need to.
made. And he's like, that's an
need to.
insult to my cooking. You should eat it just the way it is.
Yeah, I
And
didn't know that was an actual thing because when
It
I was a
is.
kid, I was a big one on putting like barbecue or
Yeah.
ketchup with it.
Yeah.
And I remember the one time I got checked by my uncle and I was like, wait,
I'd take your food away.
I'm like, well, that's the thing? And he'd be like, ketchup is for burgers. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, my
ketchup and
bad.
steak, I don't understand those people.
Yeah.
I don't understand those people.
Well, you know, I was that person. And then, don't get me wrong, I'm still am if it's not a great cut of steak and it hasn't been cooked the greatest.
well, it depends.
I need to
If
put
it's
something with it
overcooked,
just to get it.
like,
Just eat it. If it's
It's
overcooked,
always
it's a
going to be
ra-
the
if
chicken
it's
fingers
a-
and ketchup
if
kids.
it's a well done steak, I'm putting something on.
Well,
there.
anyways, back on talk a little bit since we're at like 50 minutes, guys. Probably wrap it up here in the next few minutes. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think kind of the consensus, I mean, honestly, is literally if people are wanting to figure out how to eat on a budget where you can eat relatively very whole foods, relatively very clean foods.
Yeah.
Are they all organic? Maybe yes or no. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to eat as clean as we can with basically what we're to offer for
I mean, even come to
budget-wise.
us and talk because, like I said, we all are working people. We all work full
Yeah,
time.
we understand,
We understand it,
bills,
money,
we
like-
understand money, finances, we understand trying to eat healthy because especially if grocery bills are as high as they are now on some items, like especially the outside, there is ways around it to where you can be very cost efficient. And I will say, swing in, chat with Alex, Ty, myself, pretty much anybody here, honestly, will be able to give you a good breakdown. But I'll say one of us three will truly be able to give you a really good breakdown because we live it every day and every week.
Yep. So I understand that, Alex, you have some questions that we got submitted today. Let's
Yes,
answer
sir. Yeah,
one
should we
or
answer
two
them
of
quick?
them.
Yes, sir. So, this first one is that guy named Ty who works at Nutrishop is he's a dick and is he always like that?
Yeah, screw that guy.
Someone named Tyler answered that.
He's
Or-
fired.
He's fired.
Ty, you're fired.
Oh,
Yeah, you're kind of a dick apparently. This
I
guy.
put my 2 weeks in already. So
All
it's
right,
okay.
you're fired from Brainerd. You're fired from Maple Grove. We'll see you in Brainerd.
That was Tyler, our other employee here, trying to get him on the podcast.
Nah,
but,
he's,
Thanks,
getting,
Tyler.
he's getting fired.
yeah, love you, Tyler.
He's getting fired.
Let's get that frat boy on here.
Next question is best non-stimulant supplements for getting lean.
For getting lean.
Ready, go.
We got a few. Depends on the route you want to take too. If you want to do a fat loss supplement or not. In my opinion, our MitoShape is really good for non-stimulant. I like that one a lot because it does three things. It talked about earlier the hunger side of things. If you find yourself always hungry, it's going to have the appetite suppressor in there as well. So that's one thing. I'm not going to go into the nuts and bolts of MitoShape because there's so many things that you can go through.
It's great for nutrient partitioning too.
Yep.
Insulin sensitivity.
Yep, insulin sensitivity or resistance, essentially, if your body's kind of dealing with that.
So it's one
MitoShape's
of
good for
our
that.
all-around products that I think is going to be beneficial to really anybody, to be honest, no matter what their goal. Even trying to gain weight and muscle,
Yep.
take that. It helps you, especially the insulin, or only downside of that, if you're trying to gain weight, it does have the appetite suppressor, so you're not going to be as hungry all the time. So you're got to force feed yourself a lot more.
So we can go a different route though too. We could go the GDA route. So things
Oh,
like
yep.
Slin, Glycovex,
Yep.
Revive Glucose.
Some glucose disposals, yep.
Yeah, GDAs, they're glucose disposal agents. Essentially what they're doing is they're meant to keep your blood sugar in an optimal state, which when your blood sugar gets too high, pre-diabetic, your body's not going to absorb food. You're going to start putting on more fat versus putting on more muscle. Appetite's going to go down.
Yeah, then
Overall
when you-
quality of life is going to go down.
Yeah, and then when you go to actually try to fix it and fix your diet and health, well, now then that's when you run into insulin sensitivities because now your body's trying to operate essentially still similar to how it was, but now
Yeah.
you're not doing those crazy spikes, and now you're actually doing consistent time. So that's why if you've been doing it for a really long time, I tell people like some of your clients
Yeah.
when they get a little bit older in age and they've been doing it for years, it's like don't expect 6 weeks to see much progress. Don't expect 12 weeks to
You
see
got
much
20
progress.
plus years of doing subpar stuff to your body, subpar food, subpar
Correct.
activity. It's not going to take that quick. Or it's
No.
going to take a longer time to get out of it.
Yep.
So for fat loss,
Another
GDA.
one with GDAs that slept on is Cameline.
Gameline is very slept on.
Go into that then. Explain that to people.
Well, Gameline is just slept on because, for one, it's actually a really cost-effective product. So, a lot of our people that say use like Hypercore, or honestly say like, don't want to spend the $60 or whatever it is on MitoShape. Gameline is really well just because it utilizes L-carnitine, GBB, grains of paradise. So different, like grains of paradise and whatnot, GBB are essentially helping out with like a natural thermogenesis in the body a bit. L-carnitine, that's one of the most longest kind of around ingredients that has been aided to help in fat loss and help with metabolism. I would say it more helps like shuttle fat cells to be burned is what kind of like, in my opinion, what I've kind of seen from L-carnitine the most.
It's the beta balls for too.
Correct. I think Gameline is probably one of our most slept on ones when it comes to just a light non-stimulant fat burner, for one that's not costing you $60, $70, $80, $90 like some of the competitors out there can be. It's $30 and it's 60 days worth. It's not 30 days. And the thing is it's the most optimal time to take it is going to be before a workout actually. So you're going to take it with a pre-workout, or if you're on your off days, you just take it in the morning. Take it in the morning before you eat breakfast on a fasted stomach, and then just allow it to kind of go through it. And what's nice is it doesn't overheat you. It doesn't make you feel funny. It doesn't give you any jitters. It doesn't make you feel off in any way. But as long as you are truly taking a peek at the nutrient side of things, it is one of those products that personally would aid a beginner to just start to get their body trained to shuttling fat around with the L-carnitine and different other ingredients that are in Gameline.
And if you don't like the pill form, I think lipo is another one. Lipotropic is a very good one too.
Lipo would be the other one.
The big thing is with that one, it's just going to help put those sugars into the bloodstream faster to help speed metabolism. So that's going to be the benefits of that one more. Great flavor too. So if you want something to replace our water with too, that's another one you could do too. You get more of that as well. So all of our products that are non-stimulants for weight loss, honestly, they're very, very slept on. A lot of the non-stimulant ones.
And I will say I aid for them. I push them a lot more than I say the stimulant side of things. Because especially like if you're an individual that drinks coffee and pre-workouts and stuff, I am more of an advocate on non-stimulant like fat burners and metabolic boosters, because as long as your food is on point, realistically just adding those small, cheap items of basically metabolism to kind of help aid in that, I think are more beneficial long term.
Definitely.
Instead of adding a 350 milligram freaking, Thermovac, thermo in the morning, and then also a 350 milligram caffeine pre-workout in the evening. And that to me is excessive. Now again, some people just really like the caffeine, but it's like, obviously our recommendation is I would prefer you to kind of choose one or the other with caffeine, and then we kind of go stimulant free on the other.
Definitely.
Because another thing we're always trying to fix is people's natural energy.
Yeah.
People are always complaining about being tired. That's a whole nother podcast. I think we go to next.
I think next podcast we should go through energy, hormones, etc.
Yeah, energy, hormones like cortisol. I would believe I think would be another one. So I would say if anybody's got questions kind of regarding that or experiences on like say what you're kind of feeling, like if you're feeling like your hormones are out of whack.
Can be a big factor of weight loss too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age with like all the foods that are in our society of today, like the fast foods and whatnot. They're playing a huge role, I would say, on the body's hormones, how it operates, the metabolism, everything. I will say that's why I advocate for whole foods, or if you're going to eat out, look on the menu for something that essentially fits right with what you already eat every day.
Yeah.
Consider it a cheat, even though it's a steak you didn't cook.
Definitely.
But that steak at the end of the day was probably heavily seasoned. It's probably got a lot more butter and stuff on it and whatnot, higher in fat, But it's like, I don't know. That's what I do when I go out to eat.
Yeah.
So we talked about the G days for you. Me and Chaz definitely talked on the weight loss. We can probably try to do one more question. Yeah.
Treadmill is also a good non-stim supplement. Treadmill.
Honestly, just walking is a great non-stim pre-workout. I would say, go for a 30-minute walk every morning. Go for a 30-minute fasted walk and just literally watch some changes happen in your body alone on that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So this next question here, I get this one a lot just in general. It's when to cut. So more so, this is going to kind of apply to people who go through like building phases and they go through like phases of like trimming up. So obviously it's springtime right now. A lot of people are trying to trim down for that summertime. That's obviously a reason to cut, but let's talk about more so the biological signs that you might, or feedback that you might get that tells you when it's time to start cutting body fat.
So like for me, I definitely know it's time to cut for one when my joints start hurting more.
Yes.
The heavier I get, my joints start to hurt. So that's when I'm bulking. When my knees start to give out more is when I'm like, okay, I got to cut. Like, I'm not going to do an excessive cut, but I'm going to lose a couple pounds, just get my body back to that normal level. And then another one is even just our cardiovascular system starts shutting down. Like it starts getting slower and slower. That's time to get on the treadmill, get on the proper diet, and lose some weight.
You shouldn't be getting winded during your like compound movements.
Yep.
I mean, you will be towards the end, obviously a little bit, but when you can't fully push a movement all the way to failure just because your lungs are giving out versus the muscle, that's a telltale sign that you need to work in your cardio a little bit more. So maybe going through a little bit of a fat loss phase, slightly higher cardio, that might be very optimal for you.
It depends what kind of working out you do with that one too. Because like I said, if you're doing more of a powerlifting side, you're going to be freaking gassed before your muscles are. Like, I'm sorry, you are. Like your lungs.
I can think of a few people who are like that. Yeah.
You guys cut?
What?
You guys cut?
Yeah.
I mean,
Fuck,
my
man,
cut.
I'm on a 30-year bulk.
I mean, for shows I cut, but then in general, I'm a pretty lean guy year round. But I'll go through phases. Like for me personally, a big thing for bodybuilding is my main goal right now is before I step on stage, I need to get bigger. And the common thought process is just eat more, keep training. But a lot of times we have to take one step back in order to take several steps forward. So for me, what I look for, number one, obviously looking at your actual body composition in the mirror or check-in photos. Once you start getting a little bit too fluffier, like for males typically, if you start getting over that like 15-18% body fat and you were trying to build muscle, your body's going to be a little bit less responsive. Also for me, just insulin sensitivity. We just talked about that, like GDAs and whatnot. I noticed that when I push a off season for a prolonged period of time, insulin sensitivity starts to go down a little bit for me. So I notice my appetite usually starts to tank a little bit. You'll notice I take check-ins every week, and I'll notice from check-in to check-in, my physique starts getting a little bit softer, and that just is telling me my body is more apt to be putting on body fat versus actually gaining muscle. So those are kind of signs for me that I look at. Obviously, appetite, performance, blood work.
These are
hormones.
physical signs that you notice yourself, though.
Yes. Yep. And a lot of them apply to a lot of people. Like, for example, if you were trying to build muscle and you notice you were having to force feed yourself, and all of a sudden you start eating Panda Express and Five Guys every single meal because you just think more calories is the way to go.
Yep.
You're just going to dig yourself into more of a hole.
Yeah, it don't work like that.
So
I wish it did.
So, like, for me, I'm actually right now, just like for the past week, I've been starting just in a little bit of a recomp phase. So call it a cut, call it whatever you want. My main goal is not necessarily to get shredded. Being shredded is not going to be productive for me right now, but just to drop a little bit of body fat, mainly just so I can reset my metabolism, reset blood work, so I can, in order to take another push when I do decide to throw back the food again, that my body's just going to respond that much quicker to the food. So for me, I kind of hit that point when I was like, off season was being a little bit counterproductive. Biofeedback was looking a little bit subpar. So I'm like, all right, time to shed a little bit of body fat here. That's kind of what I looked at.
Definitely. And how about you, Chaz? When is your your perma bulk? I know you don't do it, but when you would recommend your clients?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I don't cut or bulk or per se,
I mean,
because
I
do in a sense. Yeah, I do in a sense, and I'm sure a lot of the customers and potentially people that listen here have seen me. Yeah, I mean, like right now I'm sitting at only like 220-ish, right around there, like 224. I think is where I was at this morning.
Yep.
So it's like, I mean, my bulks, I usually do plan them around literally the typical kind of Minnesota fashion. I do plan them around fall. Like I'll start in fall. Usually around like October-ish is when I'll start to be like, all right, well, time to kind of put the food down, because especially you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas during that
holiday
time.
Season does play a role.
So it's like, even though my family eats relatively pretty healthy now, but at the end of the day, there's still some treats and stuff at all those events. So like, bulk season's kind of perfect for, especially when you have busy holiday seasons coming up. At the end of the day, you're going to fall off if you're in a cut. I mean, you want to test yourself mentally.
Our cut is not like Alex's cut. Alex's cut pure strict, and ours is like. If I want a damn cookie, I'm having a cookie still, but I'm just not going to eat as much food.
Right. Correct. Or what I'll do is I'll basically, I'll give and take on some other meals or nutrients kind of going forward.
More so like what I'm doing right now. Like I'm not cutting for a show right now. I'm just resetting everything.
Yep.
And so with me, quite honestly, the only thing I'm doing is eating a little bit less. So starting out cutting like 200-300 calories and just getting 10,000 steps a day. So I have my Apple Watch back on. Today was the first day I have my watch on. So literally only thing I'm doing, 10,000 steps, cutting a few hundred calories. That's about it. Still giving myself a cheat meal or two a week. I mean, if I got to go take a girl on a date or go see some family, like, you best believe I'm going to enjoy a meal. Yep. I might not eat the whole big-ass burger and all the fries and get a big old milkshake after. I might just pick something a little bit more health-conscious on the menu. That's literally it.
Yep. So I would say, like, I'm the typical of fashion. I mean, like, and I ebb and flow a lot through the year, in my opinion. Like, sometimes I get really on, and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to put on some size or put on some strength, put some muscle mass back on. I mean, it's like I'm we'll just start. But literally, I just do the same thing. I adjust my food, and essentially, I kind of take a look at what I've been eating, and I was like, all right, well, I've been doing this much. All right, well, let's add another 500, 600 calories to the kind of day-to-day basis for the next couple weeks, few weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Training usually almost always stays the same. If
Yep.
anything, you just manage recovery a little bit more.
Yeah, you manage recovery more, in my opinion. During a bulk, I'll manage recovery a lot more, in my opinion, than in a cut.
Yep.
Because in a cut, in my opinion, I can kind of push myself a little bit harder mentally and kind of go through it, you know, and stuff like that. Where in a bulk, you know, I kind of free reigns, kind of just off to the races type of deal.
So pretty much for all of us, I'd say to sum it up would be just kind of go with your body.
Yeah.
See how you feel,
and
time events, your goals.
Being honest with yourself, I think it's very common. Now, if you are someone who isn't concerned with seeing their abs 24/7 or being super lean, if you're someone who's just comfortable at a little bit of a higher body fat and you're content with that, cool, do your thing. But if you're the individual who is like, oh, I'm all into building muscle, I'm strict, I'm this, I'm that, I mean, dude, if you got man tits and love handles hanging out and you're trying to be productive on building muscle, getting stronger, you probably should tighten it up a little bit. You got to be honest with yourself there too. When you're at that point, it's not get fatter to put on more muscle. Your body's gonna quite honestly put on way less muscle.
Yep.
Yeah, in a sense, like I hate to say, I kind of try to do like a lean bulk, but it's tough
It's
to
hard.
do it. It really is actually tough to do it. You really do got to stick to like the certain proteins you're eating, the type of carbs you're eating, and whatnot. I mean, you do got to pay attention to it. I mean, but I will say that it's pretty much kind of sums it up for the same for me.
I mean, I think the word bulking, and from my perspective, it's always stay as lean as possible while putting on as much size as possible.
Yeah, I mean, if you put on 1%, 2%, maybe 3% of body fat, I wouldn't say get overworried or overstressed about it too much.
A helpful tip for a lot of people out there, if you are, say, in a surplus, a building phase, and we all genetically store body fat in certain areas. Myself, I relatively store my body fat relatively evenly, but if I had to pick one area, like my lower body, like my glutes, lower back, I hold probably majority of my body fat. So based on each individual has their own spot. For guys, a lot of time it's their gut. Based on whatever your genetically like fattest area on your body is, females it's lower body a lot of times, that's the part you monitor. Everything else will get leaner or gain weight slower just because genetically you don't hold as much fat there. Whatever your fluffiest area is, once you go through a cut, monitor where that area is, and then as you progress through a surplus and you put on more weight, still continue to monitor that fluffiest area. Once that fluffiest area starts to get out of check, that's when you kind of know to pull it back. Not necessarily because I'll have abs year round. Just because I have abs year round doesn't mean I'm shredded year round. I could probably have 20% body fat and still have abs. It doesn't work like that for me. So for me, I pay attention to my lower back, love handles, glutes. Once those areas kind of start to get a little bit too fluffy for myself, that's when I know how to pull things back too.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep, very similar on that side of things.
So I think we are coming close to an end. You guys get any closing remarks at all?
I mean, honestly, I'm enjoying doing this. It's fun. I just hope that we can continue doing it, and for one, get some more and more community questions where people we can try to answer the best we can. It can be fitness related. Obviously, we love anything fitness related, supplement related. I will say probably anything you guys can think of. Honestly, even if it's business related too. I don't know. Doesn't matter to me, but it's been fun doing it with you guys.
Ask for some funny stories. Got a lot of those too.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want to hear some degenerate stories, I'd gladly share them if people ask away and whatnot. I mean, obviously, I'll keep it relatively PG-13 as best I can.
Can't get canceled, but
can't get canceled. But for the most part, we got some funny stories. I got some funny stuff I could share with the Nutrishop fam. Well,
so I think that's it, guys.
All right,
let's wrap it up. All right, thanks, guys.
Deuces.
Appreciate you guys. See ya.